Just like every journey of every human on this good earth, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, without further ado, in the words of Oscar Hammerstein, you might be aware of my beginnings in the industry as a child performer, starting in the ensemble of repertory Philippines productions like The King and I and Fiddler on the Roof. But it was with Annie that things began to change. I was only 9 years old, and I was the lead of a very big musical. At 10, I did my first album, and then at 12, my own TV show hosted with Gerard, now sitting at the piano, and he is much happier there. And all the while, I remained in school where my personal aspirations had nothing to do with performing or music, despite my being somewhat active with TV and film work and the occasional musical. In fact, I wanted to embark on a medical career. And I made preparations to make that dream a reality. Oh, you should have seen my mom's face when I told her. I think she must have thought I was out of my mind. So I entered the Ateneo de Manila University, and I majored in biology. Along with my other blockmates, in my head, I had planned out the rest of my academic life. 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, internships, residencies, and one day, my own practice. I thought that I had it all figured out, but the universe had other plans for me. In November of 1988, the producer of the West End and Broadway hits Cats, Phantom of the Opera, and Les Miserables, named Cameron Mackintosh, announced that he, along with Alain Boublil and Claude Michel Schonberg, the lyricist and composer of Les Mis, and director Nicholas Heitner, would be heading to Manila to audition young women for a new West End musical titled Miss Saigon. Celeste Legaspi, the president of Organisasyon ng Pilipinong Mga Awit, or OPM, was meeting with a few of the guild's officers to figure out who to call to send to the auditions. Because I had sung beside Celeste for a recording some months earlier, she thought of me. And so she gave my mother a call. To which she received this reply. Sino tong mga producer na to? Baka they're gonna come here, take advantage of my daughter, and then they'll leave. So Celeste did her very best to appease her. And the conversation ended with my mom getting all the pertinent audition information. At the time, I was working on a musical, The Fantastics, which turned out fortunate for me, as there were many resource people to help me prepare for the audition. One of the actors in the show, Jaime Del Mundo, suggested, "Oh, there is this beautiful song from Les Mis titled On My Own. Sing that." So on November 15, 1988, I headed for the CCP. I waited for my turn on a bench in the hallway, running through lyrics in my head. And when my name was called, I headed down the stairs to the CCP rehearsal hall. I was promptly introduced to Cameron, Alain, and Claude Michel. Then they told me to stand on the X on the floor. And I sang. I love him, but every day I'm learning. All my life I've only been pretending. Without me, his world will go on turning. A world that's full of happiness that I have never known. Okay, so, yeah, I got the part. Which meant it was nearly time to move away. Far, far away to London, on the other side of the planet. After many farewells to friends and family, the whole lot of us a group of 13 Filipino singers and actors that auditioned for and won parts in Miss Saigon, got on a Philippine Airlines flight to London. After a week of settling down, on July 3, 1989, on our first day of rehearsal, we hunkered down to work. And it was work. This was clearly not a hobby anymore. Our days began at 10 a.m. and ended at 6 p.m. every single day, except Sunday, for around 5 to 6 weeks. Then we experienced a couple of weeks of technical rehearsals, which I liken to hell. And it is. Ask any theater actor anywhere. Work would extend to 10, maybe 12 hours. And then during previews, those few precious weeks before opening night, when the creative team gets to tinker with the material or the design elements and make things better, we would rehearse during the day and perform the show at night. There would be times when I would get a full page of brand new lyrics, expected to memorize them. And then by the end of the performance, I would get a gentle, go back to what you did the night before, from the lyricist. Welcome to my life. Well, thank goodness I had my mom with me to take care of me. I mean, I didn't know anything about cooking or cleaning or whatever, but boy, I had to grow up. And I had to grow up pretty fast. It was during my stay in London that I learned how to withdraw money from an ATM, write checks to pay the bills, keep detailed accounting records, and take public transportation. Except the London Underground, because bomb threats, and my mom is a nervous wreck. The last thing on anyone's mind was glory or fame or personal recognition. We were in London to work. We were absolutely overseas foreign workers. We signed our contracts in Manila that defined the scope of our responsibilities, as well as for how long we were slated to work. We endured living in a foreign country, in a culture that was very different from our own, with only one another for comfort and consolation. Many of us left our families. I left my brother. Another actress who was a single mom left her 3-year-old daughter, which would send her into occasional crying jags during rehearsals. There were parents, spouses, siblings, children, and friends that made so many sacrifices in the name of our motley crew making the most of this opportunity. We would endure all kinds of suffering. There was homesickness. There was injury. One of the ensemble members was nearly pinned between 2 pieces of scenery because there was something wrong going on with the set. There was vocal trouble. I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning in cold sweats because I was losing my voice, which could have meant, in my head, that I would be letting my beloved country down. But thanks to an amazing singing teacher who took my voice apart and put it back together, all is good. We battled loneliness and the damp, cold weather that got into your bones in the winter and stayed buried there until spring. But we also allowed ourselves to slowly get to know our new home. We met other UK-based Pinoys who welcomed us into their homes and took care of us and our Pinoy food cravings. We opened our eyes to additional opportunities. Many of the original Pinoys that headed to London, as well as many others that succeeded us, ended up staying in the UK or moving on to other Miss Saigon companies in the United States, Australia, and other parts of Europe. Amid all of that, and beyond all of that, we were single-minded in wanting to do our very best in order to make our country and our countrymen proud. So many times a week, in a ratty, fatigue green t-shirt and dirt smudged on my face, I belted out this song. You will be who you want to be. You can choose whatever heaven grants, as long as you can have your chance. I swear I'll give my life for you. No one can stop what I must do. I swear I'll give my life for you. Miss Saigon was a huge hit in the West End, and everybody was on a high. In December of 1990, it was time for me to head home. And I thought I would be in for a really warm welcome. But not everyone was all that welcoming. Okay, allow me to add this disclaimer. Gerard, still sitting at the piano, happy as a clam. He remembers this far, far better than I do. If there's anything he inherited from our mom, it's that he never forgets a transgression. But anyway. Oh yeah, them in tandem, it's fun. When Mom and I returned to Manila, it seemed that certain members of the general public reacted to me less than favorably. There were a few interviews that were conducted in London that eventually got aired in Manila, and some of them had me with a British accent. So we got a few very interesting responses. Ay, British accent na siya? Hindi na maabot? And just so you know, that accent is really, really contagious. What people didn't know was that my British accent, notwithstanding, please don't ask me to do it again because I can't anymore, nothing had changed. I was still the same girl that enjoyed eating with my hands, whose snack food preferences included mangkat bagoong, chicharon, and choknat. No, really, I love it. Simple lang ako, kayo'y makita, maawitan ko, at makamusta. Ako pa rin ang dating Lea, kahit kailan di nagbabago. Pagkat simple lang ako. But what I also always was someone trained by my mentors and my teachers to be a professional. Someone that showed up on time, prepared, and ready for anything. I was prepared to work hard as part of a team to achieve a goal. And it's not just about talent, as what is God-given can only take you so far. At the end of the day, it's about old-fashioned elbow grease, putting in the hours, getting your hands dirty, and knowing that any sort of success takes plenty of time. It took, at the time, 10 years of a career to prepare for the behemoth that was Miss Saigon. It took enduring the stern words and glares from Tita Bibot Amador and Tita Baby Barredo at rehearsals for whatever musical or play I happened to be part of. It meant that in promoting a record, going from one television station to the next, and changing costumes in the car. It meant giving up our Saturdays for a couple of years as we taped our TV show. It meant late nights, doing homework on movie sets, sleeping in dressing rooms. It meant plenty of hard work. I mean, a lot of talks like this one will emphasize that. However, it also takes more than just putting in your hours. It takes focus and passion and drive. It means keeping your eyes on the prize. It means dedication to a dream. You will encounter many people saying, "You can't." Heck, the night of the Olivier Awards, when I was nominated for Miss Saigon, these exact words were uttered. "Did you see the list of nominees in Lea's category? There's no way she's going to win. There's just no way." And don't ask me to reveal who said that. I'm gonna just let the guilty remain nameless. At the Oliviers, I sat beside Gerard. My category then came up. Best Actress, Best Performance by an Actress in a Musical. One by one, the nominees' names were recited. Actor Gary Wilmot, who was starring in the West End musical Me and My Girl, then came out to present the award to the winner. He opened the envelope. Gerard and I held hands. And when Gary said my name, Gerard and I both exploded. And we repeated this very same scene 1 year later at the Tony Awards in New York. At the end of August of this year, I will be heading to New York to star in another original Broadway musical. And just like in 1991 with Miss Saigon on Broadway, the future of the show is uncertain. There was outrage over Miss Saigon's arrival in New York, picket lines and demonstrations, name it. And I remember director Nick Heitner gathering us all together in the rehearsal room after rehearsing one scene. And he said, "Given all that's happening right now, this show could very well close in a week." And that's the nature of what I do. You never ever know what could happen. You could be in a hit show, toast of the town on opening night. Or you could be sent packing less than a month into the show's run. But we dive headlong into the unknown anyway. It's a show titled Allegiance, and I get to work with George Takei. For those of you who are Star Trek fans, he was Sulu. Allegiance is based on his experiences as one of 120,000 Japanese Americans that were interned, rounded up, and imprisoned behind barbed wire fences and guarded by soldiers in towers in internment camps in some of the most desolate parts of the West Coast in the US. And this happened during World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. It's a story of prejudice and bigotry, of what could happen in the face of fear and distrust. But it's also a story of love, hope, and dignity even under the most trying of conditions and circumstances. There is a word that everyone in the cast learned, which is also the title of one song from the show. Gaman. It's a Zen Buddhism term which means enduring the seemingly unbearable with patience and dignity. So once again, I will dive headlong into the unknown. I will join a company of actors, and along with our composer-lyricist, book writers, our director, and designers, we will endure 8, 10, 12 hours a day of work, rehearsals, previews, and performances to tell a story that we pray will latch on to audiences. And again, it won't be for the glory or fame or personal recognition. I will go in as an actor and as a Filipino, and I hope you will be proud. I haven't touched on one of the more fun aspects of my job. I don't just do musical theater or sing on a stage in concert. I'm also a Disney princess. A whole new world, a dazzling place I never knew. But when I'm way up here, it's crystal clear that now I'm in a whole new world with you. Princess Jasmine is officially the hottest Disney princess ever. Auditioning for the part was unlike any other audition I'd ever done. I mean, where else do you see the full audition panel bow their heads right before you're about to sing? Oh, we don't need to look at you. We just need to hear your voice. I mean, what a relief. I mean, I showed up not exactly looking my best. I had no makeup on, my hair was up in a top knot, and I was wearing the most unflattering, boxy woolen winter sweater. I sang Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. But as amazing as singing for Jasmine was, it really made my heart skip a beat to win the singing part of Mulan. More than the music and beyond Disney, what excited me was that she was Asian. Mulan was based on a 1,000-year-old Chinese legend of a girl who, in her aged father's place and masquerading as a man, became a hero in China. In a time when the only place considered appropriate for women was the home, Mulan showed that her rightful place was on the battlefield, side by side with her brothers in arms, ready to die for her beloved country. And in the original story, unlike in the Disney film, she fought for 12 years and was never found out until she returned home and presented herself to her fellow soldiers dressed in her original clothing. And trivia, there's actually a crater on the planet Venus named after her. There are wonderful stories I associate with the film Mulan. I mean, getting to work on the song Reflection and wherever else my voice could be heard, and meeting the many Asian American actors that were also in the movie, like Ming-Na Wen and B.D. Wong, and of course, the greatest Asian American actor of them all, Eddie Murphy. Looking back, I remember the whole experience with a smile on my face. The song is sung at a time of great personal conflict for Mulan, when she realizes the traditional role of the woman does not fit her. Once the men in her village are drafted into the army, and knowing that her father is physically unable to endure battle, she dons her father's armor and leaves. We all go through a time in our lives when we ask ourselves the same kind of questions that she asks herself. I'm expected to be a doctor, but, by my family, but my passions lie elsewhere. Or how do I break it to my dad that I want a career in the arts and that I don't want to follow in his footsteps into law? That was the exact same thing I was wrestling with while still living in London, still working on Miss Saigon. Although on the outside it looked like I had this amazing West End career, deep inside I didn't know if this was the path I was meant to follow. I had originally planned to stay in London for the year that I was under contract, leave and return to college, my friends, and my old life. My voice was healthy again, and I had a trophy in my apartment. So my question was more of a prayer sent to God. Okay, Lord, I'm here. You brought me here. Now what? So one Sunday, on my one day off from work, my mother and I headed to Mass in our neighborhood church. After the celebrant was done, it was time for the homily. Let me be honest with you all. Normally, once the homily of any Mass starts, once the celebrant starts talking for way too long, I tune out completely. God knows me way too well. At this Mass, the priest uttered only 2 sentences. We were all given talents by God. Use the gifts that God gave you. And then he sat down. My mom and I looked at each other in sheer disbelief. In my head, I was telling myself, that was for me. On that Sunday, in a very quiet church, I got my answer to that burning question that I then became more single-minded in my purpose. So before I close my speech and sing my last song, I would like to ask that each of you examines yourself as closely as you are comfortably able to and put forth the same question that Mulan asks herself. And once you are able to answer it, and you become more single-minded and driven, at peace and united with your vocation and your purpose, then you'll be singing another song. Like a shooting star, I will go the distance. I will search the world. I will face its harms. I don't care how far. I will go the distance till I find my hero's welcome waiting in your arms. However, in the meantime, who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection someone I don't know? Somehow I can't anniversary. Thank you.